Hello and welcome to your Advanced USANA webinar. It is Wednesday and my name is Jared Krebs. I am coming at you live from Salt Lake City. I'm actually visiting my family and I am honored today to be hosting one of the legends in USANA. Her name is Barbara Dawson. She's an executive Ruby director and she's been with USANA for over 20 years. And before we bring her on to have her share her story, I want to remind you of 10 things. Let me add my light here. 10 things to expect when you're building your business. Number one, there will be ups and downs, just like everything. Number two, success or failure is up to you. If you succeed, it's because of you. If you fail, it's because of you, not because the people who invited you to USANA. Number three, the goal is for you to become independent. Number four, make your plan on the weekends. Do it, review, and make adjustments. Plan, do, review, adjust. Number five, it's going to take time. It's going to take a year to become competent. It's going to take 3 years to create a significant part-time income. It's going to take 5 years to become a significant earner and 7 years to become world-class. It's going to take time, but it can happen faster if you visualize. Okay, number six, it takes consistent work and hustle. Number seven, you're going to have to grow and get outside of your comfort zone. Number eight, mental toughness is necessary. Number nine, the grass is not greener in other companies. I've seen people leave USANA and never make what they made with their USANA business. And number 10, this is a long-term game. USANA is 25 years strong, actually 26 years strong now, with over $2.5 billion paid out to its associates. It's provided me and many others a full-time income, a full-time living and beyond for us over a decade, for Barbara 2 decades. So this is a stable company and that's why we're so proud to work with this company. And the last thing is always remember that amateurs sell products, but professionals sell the vision. Make sure that you're sharing the entire vision and package of what USANA has to offer, not just the products. And that's why we like to use the This is USANA video. And few have done it as well as Barbara Dawson. She is on the actual Zoom call right now. She's a Ruby director and super excited to hear your story. We heard her husband's, Norm's story about a month ago, I think, or 2 or 3 weeks ago, and it was awesome. But we wanted to hear it from Barbara because Barbara has a unique story, you know, being a stay-at-home mom, supporting Norm with their USANA business and raising, I think it's 6 or 5 kids, lots of kids. I want to know that. So Barbara, let's bring you on the line. Turn on your webcam. Welcome. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule and welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Jared. It's a pleasure to be here. I love your energy. You know, you're in the middle of a vacation and here you are doing business. Good for you. That's what it takes.
Thank you. Thank you. So tell us a little bit about your story. We want to know what your life was like before USANA, you know, maybe how you found USANA, what were some of the challenges that you overcame, especially being a stay-at-home mom and raising a family while building your business. We want to know everything. What's your life like today? And you have about 15 to 20 minutes, and then we'll open it up for questions. So I want to hear. Take it away.
Thank you so much, Jared. And to all those I can't see, good to be here on Zoom, or I think Zoom video, whatever we're on. So Norm and I started back in the late 80s, early 90s. Norman decided to do a second career. And he decided to go into chiropractic. One of the things you may not know about Norman is that he is totally deaf. So when I first met him, we were married in 1980. He was totally deaf. I just happened to be a sign language interpreter at the University of New Mexico. And so everywhere he went, I went with him. We were literally joined at the hip. You know, it was like everywhere he went, I went. Went through chiropractic college. I was an interpreter in some of his classes. I decided finally I gotta be more independent. You get another interpreter, and I started chiropractic college. So I became a massage therapist, so I could work my way through school. Was becoming a chiropractor. What's funny is the 4 or 5 trimesters that I had interpreted for him and quit interpreting. I did those same 4 or 5 trimesters, and then we got pregnant with our first daughter. I thought, oh, that's all right. I'll just sit out for a trimester and get right back into school. 2 days after she was born, I said, it's not happening. I'm going to be a mom. I love being a mom. So I was 35 when I had our first child. And I had done embryology, and I knew the risks of having a child after 35, the birth defects that could show up. I was like, oh, well, healthy child. I was actually a vegetarian at the time. She was 9 pounds, 9 ounces. And some of you that know how big children is like, wow, that's a big kid. But it was great. I had her with a midwife, had her in an apartment, it was great. Second child came along 18 months later. By that time, we had moved back to Albuquerque from Dallas. Second child came along, 8 pounds, 8 ounces. Moving on along, baby's getting smaller. Third child, when I was pregnant, again, 18 months later, I noticed my energy was not good. I noticed that I wasn't feeling real well. My midwife said to me, you've got to stay home, stay in bed, get off your feet. I remember going to the store and driving around one of those shopping carts, and baby was born with a birth defect. So she was born with a soft cleft palate, which means there's the roof of your mouth. The back end of it was split. Nothing on the outside, but the back of it was split. So she couldn't nurse. I had nursed the previous 2. I had to learn how to pump milk, which I did for almost a year so that she could get in and do the surgery. And then all of a sudden I find out, oh, I'm pregnant again. Oh, and by the way, that child was 7 pounds, 7 ounces. So the birth weight kept getting smaller. And I thought, not, oh no, I'm pregnant. It was, oh no, how am I going to make sure I have a healthy pregnancy and healthy child? Well, as the universe works, whatever you want to call that, divine guidance, power greater than we are, a friend from a spiritual community I was in called me one day. She actually called Norman and said, could I get Barbara's phone number? And he goes, why? Those of you that know Norm, it's cut to the chase. She says, well, I'd like to share with her some information about some vitamins. He goes, yeah, you go talk to her. I'm not interested. Okay, so she calls me, and I had enough science and embryology and all of the biologies that I grilled her for an hour on the phone. So what makes this vitamin any better than anything else? Oh, it's all this research that Dr. Wentz has done. Well, so tell me, why is that any better? Well, because the potency, the purity, I got off the phone and I went, I have no business buying any vitamin, but I've got to have a healthy child. I was about 6 weeks pregnant. And I knew at 8 weeks is when midline closure happens. Some of the midline stuff happens in. So I said, okay, I'm on it. Now, at the time, the only way we could become a distributor or to get the products was to be a distributor. There was no PC. There was no preferred customer. So Norman comes home. I talked to him about it. He goes, okay, here's a credit card. Put it on it. We didn't have the cash. He was working his chiropractic practice. He was throwing a newspaper out in the morning. I wasn't working. I had 2 kids, a third on the way. And so we put it on a credit card. So I started taking the products. I was taking at least 100 points, 100 sales volume every month, not knowing anything about anything. And as my son was born in March, 10 pounds, 2 ounces. He was crawling. Yes.
Yes.
And he was healthy. And APGAR score of 10, he was perfect. And so one day we start looking at our downline and we're going, how come we got 5,000 points on this side and nothing on the other? Well, my sponsor had put somebody below us that was out retailing products like crazy and doing all kinds of stuff. And next thing you know, I'm saying to Norm, you need to try these vitamins. You need to try these vitamins. And he said, a vitamin's a vitamin. You can't tell me any different. I'm going, so those of you who have a spouse or a significant other that won't support you, just keep trying. So finally, really to get me off his back, he said, okay. So we started taking the products. And he noticed some health changes. For me also, my spring allergies in Albuquerque are horrible, or were up until 21 years ago. Does the vitamin, do they work? I don't know. You can make that assumption. So we started telling people about it. And Norm took a hold of the business because he said, if we've got 5,000 on this side nothing on the other. That's all we have to do is get a few orders in and we'll be making money. So our first goal was to bring him home. At least 5-6 months later, he quit the paper route. And 18 months later, he closed his chiropractic practice.
Wow.
We homeschooled our kids. So it was great. I remember him walking in the door and saying to me, I think I'm going to close the practice. And I said, oh my gosh, you got all this schooling and all this education and you're going to walk away from that? He said, when I look at the numbers and I look at what we're making in USANA and what I'm making in my chiropractic practice, if I take away that overhead, we're making more money in USANA. I said,
wow.
Bring it home. What the heck? Yeah, we'll touch more lives that way. But what you need to know is Norman being a deaf person through all that, there were times when we were building our business, especially with the newborn, I was going with baby in one arm, signing with the other arm, what was happening, nursing the baby if I had to. So when people give me excuses like, oh, I've got a newborn, or I don't know if I can take the time to do this, I'm going, I try and be empathetic, but it's like you have no idea when you want something bad enough what you're willing to do to get it. And frankly, when we first started, I wasn't thinking this was going to be a full-time income. But I remember one day driving around streets of Albuquerque, probably going to or from an appointment, and saying to him, how much are we making in this USANA thing? He said, we're making about $400 a week. I said, that's what we made this week. He said, yeah. I said, what about last week? Yeah, 400. And how about the week before that? Yeah, 400. And it was like, wow, that's $1,600 a month. That's good income. And, so that's our story. And I'm so delighted we've been able to be full-time in this for, 18 years? And
wow.
I love it.
I know you make a lot more than that now. So tell us a little bit about how it grew from 400 a week to 2,000 and plus a week.
Right.
Yes, tell us some of that.
Well, what we did is, again, Norm was deaf. He'd get on the phone, and he speaks beautifully. His speech has always been great, but he would call through the relay, and it's like a typewriter that he would call, hey, Jared, this is Dr. Norm. How you doing? And you'd say, oh, I'm doing great. And he'd see, oh, I am doing great, typed out on the screen. Hey, Jared, let's get together and have coffee. I want to tell you about this patient that I had. Oh my gosh, I had this patient come in the office and they had this, and this. And they'd say, wow, what are you doing? So we were doing breakfast, lunch, coffee, dinner, supper, whatever we could meet with people over coffee, sometimes 4 and 5 times a day. That's how we built it. And then in 2000, so that was like 97. And in 2000, we happened to be at a family reunion. A niece said, you can get these hearing aids, these cochlear implants so that you can hear. So in 2000, he went in, got the surgery done, got one cochlear implant. That year, it was like, okay, Norm, you need to learn to hear again. And there was a part of me, we talk about a why. There was a part of me that said, oh my goodness, what if he doesn't need an interpreter anymore? And what if he decides to do what his dad did, which was get the education, then say goodbye to his wife? A horrible thought to think. You'd think, oh yeah, but we have these concerns. Yeah. That was my concern. I said, I've got to figure out how to build this business. So about that time is when Sensei came out. And I got baskets. And so I had 4 baskets going at one time. And it was during that period of time, again, we were both working the business. I was taking a bigger role in it. So we went gold. So it was 4 or 5 years before we went gold.
Okay,
and then,
so that's about right. Just like I said at the top, it takes about 5 years to build a significant full-time income.
Yes.
Okay, keep going.
You got to have a strong why. And for me, it was, I'm going to make sure I can do this. I'm going to get out of my comfort zone. You also said on the 10,
yeah,
you got to step outside. I did. I got into sign language interpreting, Jared, because I really didn't mind being seen, but I really didn't want to be heard.
Okay.
So sign language was perfect. I could sit in front of the room and sign all I wanted. And I've gotten, so I kind of enjoy being the presenter also, and I'm good at it. So is Norm. So we make a great team. Good question. Yeah. What else?
Awesome. So what I hear you saying is that you started out just by making small checks.
Yeah.
Less than 400 a week. You were just making, smaller checks, and actually you had a bunch of points on one leg. You kind of caught the vision of it, and then when you started to believe more, you took more action, and you believed more and took more action, and then it got to the point where it was like, let's go all in.
Right.
And then it just kept growing. And so talk to us a little bit now. I mean, because you overcame a lot of challenges on this journey. Talk to us about what your life is like today, thanks to your USANA business.
Oh my. I love residual income. It has sustained us for years, I mean, decades. That's not why we got started. We got started for a health reason. In fact, we started taking the products, I think it was in October. We didn't really even sign up our first person because we weren't seeing it as a business until May. And I think our first convention was that summer in July. And I'll tell you a story about that in a minute. But there's our life today. Our kids are all grown. They're off doing their thing. The son is an entrepreneur. All of them know about the business. None of them are building it. They all have a business center, but none of them are building it. But our son is certainly an entrepreneur. He, at 21, has purchased a house. He has renters in that house, and he's looking to buy a second house because he knows the power of recurring residual income.
Wow. Love it.
He read, be careful with your children. He read Rich Dad, Poor Dad at 16 and said, I'm not going to college. I'm not doing it the way everybody else does. I'm going to do it differently. And he has. And I'm very proud of him. I'm proud of all my kids. I'm proud of all of them. They've all found their own way to make life work.
So can you share a little bit about the value of raising kids in a USANA business culture and how being exposed to entrepreneurship and health and wellness impacted their growing up?
Yes, absolutely. We had several unique things going on for us. One, I homeschooled all 4 kids. Our first daughter was reading at 4. She was reading chapter books. And I went, oh my gosh, I'm not going to put her into a kindergarten class and have her either get dumbed down or be the problem kid because she's bored. So we ended up homeschooling them, which actually also opened up a lot of opportunities for us. And hearing Dr. Wentz talking about immunization supported what I believed about immunization of kids. In fact, so they knew the benefits of health. They knew how important that was. They took the vitamins. They couldn't wait to get on back then it was the essentials. Oh, good, I'm on the chewables. When can I get on the body rocks? When can I get on the essentials? I want to be an adult, take those. So that nutrition piece was big. My son right now is in MMA fighting, and he does a shake every day after after he goes to work out. He doubles up and triples up as he's getting ready to go in for a fight. He's only had one. He's got a second one coming up. He won the first one, and people say his gas tank never goes empty. So he is probably the most consistent of my kids about the health piece of it. The good news is he's positive about. The bad news is he thinks that he's invincible because he takes USANA vitamins. But that's a good thing to know.
Wow, I didn't know that. Okay, so you got all kinds of things going on with your kids.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and being able to homeschool them, I actually unschooled them so that if somebody wanted to be at the library every day, we were at the library. If somebody wanted to be horseback riding, we went out horseback riding. If somebody wanted to be in dance and all of that, which my second daughter did, she was taking 24, 25 hours of dance a week. And then the other thing we did is because we had a home-based business, because we had the income, it wasn't like I just paid their way. we also taught them the skills of money management. Okay, you get $10. What are you going to do with it? You've got to put 10% aside for financial freedom. That's what you're going to use for investments. 10% aside for long-term savings. 10% aside for play. You know, this,
Okay.
I think 5% for giving. And so we set up this whole system based on, shoot, what's the guy's name? The Millionaire Mind Intensive.
Okay.
I went to, and what I got was his
Ehar
jar.
Beckert?
Yes,
Uh-huh.
yes. So used his jar system with the kids. My son still says, yeah, of every paycheck, I put aside 20%. One goes to yeah, absolutely. So
Wow.
that being able to homeschool them, unschool them, gave us the opportunity also being entrepreneurs to say, you know, you got to save money. No one gets wealthy without saving money. So we were able to instill that in them.
Man, this is so great. I love all these great tips.
Thank you.
Yes. I'm taking notes right now.
I want to tell you a story. Our very first,
Okay.
you know how the very first night there's always a party, but we knew we had to be at the events because of we had been in network marketing before. It had never worked. We had sworn up network marketing and said, we will never, I said to him, don't you ever bring another one of those home. Well, I brought it home with USANA. So we went to the convention. We took my son, he was May, June, July, 4 or 5 months old, took him with us. And we're standing there. It wasn't outside. It was in a big room with a band blaring. And I'm standing there. Norm went off to do something. And all of a sudden I look over and Dr. Wentz is standing beside me. And I went, oh my gosh, you're Dr. Wentz. And I'm holding my son. Oh my gosh, don't move. So I went and found Norm, brought him over. And I said, Dr. Wentz, this is my husband. So, you know, Norman, of course, starts saying, oh, we're doing this in the business, and this is how much money we're making, and oh, we're doing great, blah, 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 blah. We tend to, as newbies, talk way too much and ask way too many questions, ask way too few questions. And Dr. Wentz, as a good model that he is, sat there and listened. And then he said, are you taking the vitamins? Oh, yes. Oh, my gosh. We love the vitamins. They're great. They're great. They're great. On and on and on. We went. And when we finally got quiet again, Dr. Wentz says, he looks at me and he says, don't you think this room is a little loud for that baby? And I went, oh, yeah, we're out of here. We're gone. And we turned around and left. But, you know, he's always the model about protecting your health and always about health and wellness. And it was such a gift to be able to do that. The other thing that inspired me about Dr. Wentz is we were on a cruise. We won several cruises early on, and sitting on the deck, and there's Dr. Wentz. And it was right after Sansei was launched. So I went up to him and I said, Dr. Wentz, we love the vitamins. Why do we have to learn about skincare? Why is that so important? He says, look around the deck of this ship. People are slathering stuff on their skin. They have no idea what they're putting in their body. And I went, oh, I get it. Thank you. And, you know, then was able to be really passionate about the skincare as well. So he's the real deal. I love that about Dr. Wentz. I hope that kind of gives you a little more about our history.
Well, you know,
what are the questions?
It's cool that Dr. Wentz is like not that excited about your business or the money you're making, but he's excited about how you're taking care of your health and your family. And, you know, that's so true about skincare as well. It's like, it's really important, and people are putting chemicals on their body every day. And we're so lucky to be in USANA where we're exposed to great skincare products, myself included. I never used skincare, and now I've been using the products also for over a decade, you know, the shower products and all the face products. So I love it. And these are just great, great tips. This has been such an enlightening interview. And so we want to open this up to questions for the last 5 minutes. So my people on Zoom, if you have a question, you get first shot at Zoom. If you type in your question in the chat. My people on Facebook, type in your question on the comments. I'm watching you on Facebook right here, so I can read your questions. And let's take advantage of this time. I have a comment here from Megan Martinez. We have learned so many things about self-development and the people who we want to be, and our health. So Renee Martinez asks, he's from Jordanton, Texas. He says, what do you like best about the new skincare line, Celavive?
Okay, so I've used Sensei forever. What I noticed is that my skin was good, but what I've noticed is it feels tighter.
Feels tighter.
I'm 61 years old. It feels tighter. I love the feel. And I also, what I've noticed is some of the young people that are using that have a lot of acne, the oily line is amazing for them as well. So that's what I love about Celavive. You know, if USANA makes it, I figure it's good. It's my go-to. I don't question it. Maybe I'm blind that way, but I just know the product. I know the company.
That's awesome what you say about the skin feeling tighter. I've noticed that as well.
Yeah.
And you can see that.
Yes. Yeah.
That's why it's the rage.
Yes.
All right. So who else has a question? Go ahead and type it in the comments of Zoom or Facebook. Hi, Melissa Carter. Melissa just joined us. We have quite a few people watching on Facebook Live right now. So while we're waiting we probably have time for one more question. So please type in your question. I'm going to ask one right now. So my question is, how did you overcome the hard times?
You know, what we learned early on is that we'd be going along at a level. We'd go to an event and we'd get, hi, oh, this is great. And then we'd go down and then we'd go along again. Then we'd go to another event, we'd get, oh, hi again. And then we'd get down. But what happened is the highs became higher and the lows became higher. So over time, just by doing it anyway, I can remember the first person that came in with 3 business centers, and I was so excited about her kid being in. I was so great. And then she quit and she sent it all back. And it was like, oh my goodness, is this going to work? But we just kept doing what we knew we had to do. We just kept talking to people. We couldn't be quiet.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we'd find people with a need.
Oh, the products are so incredible. You know, it's going to help them. And then the business isn't for everybody, but for the ones that it is for, it's so perfect for them.
Yes. Yes.
And I like what you said, though, about continuing to go to the events, because the events maybe you go down after you go to an event, but you're right. You don't get so disappointed. And so you kind of end up growing like this.
Yeah.
That's a really great point.
Yep.
Thank you. All right. So our last question comes from Megan Martinez in Jordanton, Texas. And she says, how would you reach stay-at-home moms?
That's a great question. I'm trying to figure that out right now online.
Oh.
Because I figure there's a lot of stay-at-home moms out there. How do we reach them? Get into groups where they're stay-at-home moms, engage in a conversation, make them your friend. You know, I don't believe in dumping on people about my business, my products.
Friends first.
Time. And so join if you've got kids in school, get in the PTA. Get to know moms, get to know moms of kids. There's all kinds of places to meet people. I think the biggest challenge is we've got to get out of our own way and be willing to listen. And when you get we don't have enough money, don't jump all over them and say, oh, if I get the deal for you, say, what will that do for you if you had more? What are you noticing now you can't do because you don't have the money? What would you love to do if you could? I can remember going to Disneyland and bringing a nanny so that we could go to a USANA event and have a nanny there so we could bring the kids. So you got to paint the picture and get them, find out what it is they want. It's all about asking questions.
Ooh, those were some really good questions too. Write those down, everybody. The one that really stood out to me was what would it do if you had the money, or what would your life be like if you were able to do this? Good questions. Thank you. Okay, so we have made it to the top of the half hour. It just went by like in a snap. Barb, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom. 20 plus years. How many years in USANA?
21. Will be 22 in October.
22 years in October with USANA. What a blessing. And to end the call, can you just give your last piece of advice to everyone watching? We have lots of people watching who are brand new, people who are watching who've been in for a couple years. But what's your piece of advice, last piece of advice to everyone?
I think, Jared, it's something that I'm working on myself, and that is we have a gift to give. There are people out there that are looking for the gift. Most of the time, it's not like in our face, but if we spend the time building the relationship, asking the questions, getting to know people, get them to know, like, and trust you, then they will, they'll open up to you enough to go, I have this need, I wish I could fix it, and then ask more questions and fix it if you can. If you can't, also let them know I can't help. Be willing to be transparent.
Awesome. Awesome. We do have a gift, and that is so true, to just remember that it's not about us. It's not about me and my goals and whatever. It's about the gift and the possibilities in their life. And that's such a great reminder. So thank you again, Barbara. We're going to open up the lines. Everybody who's watching on Zoom, please unmute yourself. And everyone say thank you, Barbara, and have an awesome day.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you, Barbara.
Thank you, Barbara. Have an awesome day. Bye, everyone.
Barbara.
Bye.
Have a great day.